Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight, we bring you a story that may very well mark a turning point in one of the most volatile conflicts of our time. Tensions in Eastern Europe have reached an all-new high, and what you're about to hear could redefine the balance of global military power. In a stunning escalation, Ukrainian drones have successfully struck 4 Russian Su-34 fighter jets at a key airbase deep within Russian territory. This is not just a headline. It's a message, one that echoes far beyond the borders of Ukraine and Russia. And as the world watches with bated breath, one question grows louder. Are we heading toward World War III? In the early hours of the morning, Ukrainian forces launched a precision drone assault targeting Morozovsk Air Base in Russia's Rostov region. What followed was a coordinated strike that managed to disable 4 high-value Su-34 fighter bombers, some of Russia's most advanced aircraft used heavily in the war effort. These jets, valued at tens of millions of dollars each, aren't just pieces of metal. They represent Russia's air dominance, its strategic intimidation, and its power projection. But last night, that image was shattered. Burning wings in the dead of night, filmed by satellite and confirmed by Russian channels themselves. This wasn't just a tactical blow. This was psychological warfare, a wake-up call. Russia's Ministry of Defense scrambled to contain the damage while Ukrainian officials remained reserved, letting the action speak louder than words. But let us be very clear. This strike is deep into Russian soil. The rules of engagement are shifting. The war is changing. The rise of modern warfare. When drones change the game, we are witnessing a transformation in the very essence of warfare, a revolution in strategy, tactics, and technology. No longer are wars confined to massive armies marching across borders or fleets of tanks rolling through cities. The 21st century battlefield is airborne, digital, and invisible. The recent Ukrainian drone strikes on Russia's Morozovsk Air Base, which destroyed 4 of its prized Su-34 fighter jets, mark a dramatic shift, a signal that the rules of war are being rewritten in real time. This is not an isolated incident. It's the culmination of a broader evolution, the rise of low-cost, unmanned aerial vehicles, UAV drones, that have the ability to breach the defenses of some of the most fortified military installations in the world. Ukraine, a country outgunned and outmanned in traditional terms, has used these flying machines as equalizers. With innovation driven by necessity, Ukrainian engineers and strategists have turned cheap, commercial-grade drones and modified military UAV into precision weapons. These tools, equipped with explosives, real-time navigation, and advanced sensors, can fly deep into enemy territory with minimal risk and maximum impact. Let's be clear, drones are not just weapons, they are force multipliers. For the cost of a single Russian Su-34 jet, Ukraine can launch hundreds of drones. These machines require no pilot, no elaborate logistical support, and can be deployed from remote areas with basic equipment. Their small size and high mobility make them hard to detect and even harder to intercept. The traditional models of air superiority, built around powerful aircraft, air bases, and massive budgets, are being challenged by a handful of flying robots guided by remote operators or pre-programmed paths. Ukraine's successful strike didn't just destroy equipment, it exposed vulnerabilities. It showed that even the mighty Russian military, with its vast arsenal and strategic depth, can be penetrated. It was a psychological blow as much as a tactical one. For years, Russia has projected an image of air superiority. The Su-34 is a symbol of that strength. But seeing 4 of them burning on satellite images, the wreckage shared across global media shattered the illusion. And here's the twist. This is no longer about David versus Goliath. That analogy doesn't quite capture the new dynamic. Ukraine isn't just slinging stones, they're playing chess. With every drone launch, every strategic hit, they're anticipating moves, baiting responses, and stretching the Russian defense thin. The war is no longer linear. It's networked. It's no longer based solely on firepower, but on information, speed, adaptability, and precision. This is warfare in the digital age, but what does this mean for the rest of the world? The implications are massive, and they go far beyond the borders of Ukraine and Russia. If Ukraine, a nation under siege, can develop and deploy this level of drone warfare, what will happen when other nations or non-state actors do the same? terrorist groups, rogue states, and paramilitary organizations are watching closely. Drones are inexpensive, easy to produce, and accessible. The barrier to entry for war has never been lower. For global powers like the United States, China, and NATO countries, this shift forces a recalibration. Traditional defense systems, radars, anti-aircraft missiles, and base security were designed for large, fast-moving threats. Not tiny, quiet drones flying low and slow. Military planners are now scrambling to develop counter-drone strategies, investing in electronic warfare, AI surveillance, and drone killer systems. But the challenge is massive, and the clock is ticking. Most dangerously, this new frontier of warfare may push already aggressive nations to the edge. If Russia continues to suffer strategic losses inside its own territory, the pressure to escalate becomes real. How long before they retaliate with broader strikes, cyber attacks, or even tactical nukes? How long before they blame the West directly and use that as justification for expanding the war? We are on fragile ground. With every successful drone hit, the chance of miscalculation rises. One mistake, one wrong move, and we could spiral into a global confrontation. The balance of deterrence that held through the Cold War is now being tested by technology that doesn't follow the old rules. The drone age has arrived. It is fast, cheap, and transformative. And Ukraine, with its relentless courage and technological creativity, is at the front line of this transformation. The world is watching. Military giants are recalculating. And history is unfolding, not with bombs and bullets alone, but with the silent hum of a drone flying through the night sky, rewriting the future of war one strike at a time. The United States on the brink. Walking the tightrope of global warfare, the United States, already one of Ukraine's most critical allies in the ongoing war, now finds itself at a crossroads unlike any other since the Cold War. The situation unfolding in Eastern Europe is no longer just a military engagement between two nations. It has become a test of global resolve, strategic patience, and geopolitical balance. America's involvement in the Russia-Ukraine war has been both deep and deliberate, yet cautious. On one hand, the U.S. is providing Ukraine with billions of dollars in aid, advanced weapon systems, real-time intelligence, financial backing, and political support on the international stage. On the other, it is doing everything in its power to avoid a direct military confrontation with a nuclear-armed Russia, a confrontation that could ignite a war far beyond Europe's borders. But how long can the United States walk this tightrope? Each successful Ukrainian drone strike into Russian territory raises the temperature. The recent hit on Russia's Morozovsk Airbase, where 4 Su-34 fighter jets were destroyed, wasn't just a military victory for Kiev. It was a message loud and clear. The war is evolving. The battlefield is expanding, and every drone that crosses into Russian airspace brings with it a wave of political consequences and military uncertainty. These actions provoke Moscow, and the more frequently they occur, the harder it becomes for Washington to maintain plausible deniability or deflect accusations of orchestrating the strikes from behind the scene. Russia has already accused the United States of not just supporting Ukraine, but of directly guiding Ukrainian military operations through satellite intelligence, joint planning, and advanced Western weaponry. While Washington insists it is simply arming Ukraine in self-defense, Moscow sees it differently. In the eyes of the Kremlin, the U.S. is not a bystander, it is a co-combatant. And that perception, more than reality, is what makes this tightrope walk so dangerous. The U.S. administration is trapped in a high-stakes balancing act. Politically, it must stand strong beside Ukraine to maintain its global credibility. Abandoning Ukraine would send shockwaves across the world, especially to allies in Asia, the Middle East, and NATO who rely on American leadership. But at the same time, too much involvement risks dragging the U.S. into a direct war with Russia, a nation with one of the largest nuclear arsenals on Earth. One wrong step, one misread signal, and diplomacy could collapse into catastrophe. NATO, too, is under pressure. While it remains technically outside the conflict, its borders are alarmingly close. Poland, a NATO member, is already reinforcing its eastern flank with missile defense systems, tanks, and thousands of troops. The Baltic states are holding emergency military drills. Romania is boosting surveillance in the Black Sea. NATO eastern wall is hardening, and the message is clear. The alliance is preparing, not for peace, but for the possibility of escalation. Inside the Pentagon, analysts and generals are watching satellite feeds in real time. Every strike, every Russian counterattack, every Ukrainian maneuver is scrutinized, mapped, and modeled. Wargame scenarios are running 24/7, cyber defenses are on alert, nuclear deterrence protocols are being reviewed, and emergency communication channels between Washington and Moscow, so crucial during the Cold War, are being reactivated. Behind the calm of political statements, a quiet storm is brewing inside the American defense apparatus. And this isn't just about Ukraine. The entire global order is being tested. If the United States fails to contain this conflict or gets pulled in too far, the repercussions will ripple across the globe. China is watching closely, calculating its own moves in Taiwan. North Korea is increasing its missile tests. Iran is becoming more aggressive in the Middle East. The message being sent is dangerous. If a major war can erupt in Europe and the West can't stop it, then perhaps now is the time to settle old scores elsewhere. The truth is, we are not just dealing with a regional war anymore. This is no longer a battle over territory or political control in Ukraine. It's a showdown between two worldviews. Democracy versus authoritarianism. Open societies versus closed regimes. Freedom versus imperial ambition. And the United States, willingly or not, is at the heart of that clash. This is what makes the current moment so perilous. The U.S. cannot fully step in, but it cannot afford to step away. It must deter Russia without provoking it. It must empower Ukraine without overexposing itself. It must reassure its allies while containing its enemies. It is a diplomatic and military tightrope, stretched thin over the flames of a brewing global conflict. And every drone that strikes a Russian airbase only shakes that rope harder. So, where does this leave us? The strike on the Su-34s was not just a battlefield success. It was a symbolic rupture in Russia's military armor. It showed that no airbase is untouchable. That technology is evolving faster than politics can control. But perhaps more importantly, it raised the stakes for everyone watching. Because when one domino falls in Eastern Europe, others begin to tremble in Asia, the Middle East, and yes, even the West. World War III may not begin with a declaration, it may begin with a drone. So we ask again, are we heading toward World War III? We don't have that answer. But we do know this: the choices made in the next few weeks will shape the world for the next few decades. And as citizens of the world, we must stay informed, stay alert, and most importantly, stay united in our hope for peace.